So this particular video is about facades, and I came out of a place that I really like, the New Jersey Pine Barrens, to a place that I'd much rather not be, but to maybe illustrate the point, the message of what I'm saying in this particular video. I thought this would be a good place to come to. Right now I'm in a well-known facade. This place is known as the Las Vegas of the East, because right now I am in Atlantic City, and I'm going to pan this camera around. As you can see, right over the top of that dune, and I'm going to walk through there. This is right behind is the boardwalk, and just like Las Vegas, Atlantic City is known for its pretentiousness. Folks who basically are pretending to be people that they're really not, and it's destructive to the soul that way. I've got so much more money, and look at my fancy clothes and jewelry and all this bullshit, and no, man, that's fucked up. But there's another facade, which is far more consequential and detrimental to everyone. That is the cult of Israel. Israel, long story short, is a colonial settler project that was founded on brutality and hatred of other people. Israel was founded in 1948 during an event called the Nakba, which is an Arabic word that means catastrophe, and rightfully so. That's when the certain Jewish supremacists, certainly not all Jews, because there is a dramatic difference between a real Jewish person and a Zionist. But that's when the Zionists, they brutalized Palestinians living in what used to be called Palestine, and pushed the Palestinians westward. Then in 1967, the second Nakba came, which at that point, the Israeli Prime Minister by the name of Golda Meir reached out to Richard Nixon, corrupt as hell as he was, and requested all the military supplies that they needed to further brutalize the Palestinians and push them into what is now Gaza, which I think it was 2006. The Israelis then established basically an open-air prison for those people. They took over their water supply, their electricity, shut off all freedom of movement, built fences, big fences, and a huge wall, and basically put all these people on a starvation diet. An open-air prison for these folks. Polling in Israel indicates that they are not at all a culture like ours that has been hijacked by the wealthy elite and corrupt politicians. That's because overwhelmingly these people support this horrific genocide and ethnic cleansing and apartheid system that's gone on for over 58 years now. Another very critical note to make is the consequence of what we are facing because of our supposed friendship with Israel. Because through their mass bloodshed and ever craving land conquest and brutality against other people, it pushes us closer and closer into World War III.
While the world's eyes watch the horrors of war in Gaza, Israeli settlers have been redrawing the West Bank with extreme violence. This video appears to show an attack on two Palestinian women being clubbed repeatedly by a settler. So shocking, so merciless, this incident has drawn condemnation from Israeli police. But so far, no arrests. We've come to meet one of the women from the video. Afaf Salah is 55 and a grandmother. She shows us her injuries. A black eye, her hands and arms covered in bruises. She says she has cuts all over her body and 20 stitches on her head. Afaf tells us she was just harvesting her family's olives when the settlers attacked. The Israeli army does nothing to stop them, she says. There are more attacks now and it's getting worse. Afa was beaten just outside of Termesaya. Today we saw farmers back in the fields there, but now under pressure from Israeli military. For hundreds, maybe 1,000 years in my family, we've been harvesting olives on this land, one farmer tells me.
You've been given 2 hours to leave.
Yes, just 2 hours, then the soldiers warned us to be away before the settlers come.
Shukran. Where I'm standing in the West Bank is now officially recognised by the UK government as Palestine. But in defiance, de facto annexation appears to already be happening. Just beyond this line here, there is a new Israeli settlement, and the settlers are taking more and more Palestinian land, not just under the watch of, but under the protection of the Israeli military, providing security.
For example, did you know that DNA tests are very, very heavily regulated in Israel? You cannot go into a CVS or a Walgreens and buy a DNA test kit, take a sample, send it off to whatever company, and have them send it back to you as a civilian. They have effectively made DNA tests illegal in Israel. Israel will recruit folks from the main particular areas of this country: Brooklyn, Miami, Florida, Hollywood, California, in England, London, England, and like Paris, France. These are folks that Israel will reach out to, and if you pass their guidelines, it's all about pulling folks in and programming them to believe that these are folks who are native to that land, and therefore they are God's given children, and it's God's given right for them to occupy that land. These folks that they're pulling from these particular cities in large numbers, they're very generally what you call settlers. They become settlers. Now, settlers are brutal. They are cruel. They go in and brutally steal these people's lands, murder them in many situations, and that's who these people are.
You know, this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? What are you yelling at me? I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
But
It's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed to steal it, يا عمي.
So it was about this time a year ago. I was responding to a promotional offer with Hilton to stay at the Hilton Poydras on 57th Avenue in Manhattan. I took a road trip. When I got there, the first thing I wanted to do was go on an electric unicycle ride. So I got geared up and took off through Central Park. Rode around through there for a while and decided I was going to take the paved bike trail, really nice bike trail, down to the Battery and where the Statue of Liberty is. Funny thing, I never thought in a million years that I would stand out like a sore thumb. I figured that everybody in New York City would have to know what an electric unicycle is, but there were a lot of folks along the way that were like, "Hey man, what is that? That's pretty cool." I met a lot of decent folks in New York City, but when I got to the where the Battery is, I decided to turn around and come back a different route. So I got on the road and came up where the New York Stock Exchange is, and traffic in front of me was slowing down, so I slowed down and we came to a stop. And that's when there were a number of folks that were right near me on the street corner. They were wearing Hebrew garb, and they were like, "Hey man, that's really cool. What is that?" So the first thought that came to my mind was, oh, these are those really cool real Jewish people who stand for free Palestine, and some that are living in Israel refuse to be conscripted into the IOF, which is really what it's going to become to be known as the IOF, the Israeli Offensive Forces, because Israel, which is commonly referred to as the IDF, the Israeli Defensive Forces, has never really been a defensive force. It's all about expansion and conquering other people and brutality. So as these folks are walking up to me, I'm looking at them and I say, the first thought for me to say is, hey, that's really horrific what the IOF is doing to the Palestinian, especially the Palestinian children, don't you think? And there's about 4 or 5 guys that looked like in their 20s. They looked like they never worked a job before in their life. You could look at their hands or their fingers, looked like they've received a manicure every day of their life. They looked at me and they said, there is no genocide going on. And get this, the next thing they said was, all of those people, they all need to be murdered. There are no innocent people there. We don't care how young they are, even if they're little babies, they all need to be exterminated. And that at that point, that really, really pissed me the fuck off. So there were about 4 or 5 of these guys standing around me, and I'm getting up in their face and they're getting up in my face, and I'm calling them a bunch of modern day SS Nazi stormtroopers, and they're calling me anti-Semite, anti-Semite. And I said, okay, let's go down behind that alleyway right there. And I was pointing right between where the New York Stock Exchange was and the row of buildings. I came prepared with me. This is the strongest pepper spray you can buy. I've been told by folks that that'll knock people on their ass. And I was ready to go with these people, man. They were really, really pissing me off. But as I was about to retract the handle on my electric unicycle and start calling those guys to follow me, there was a deeper knowing, an inner voice, if you will, that said, Chris, stop. This is not the right thing for you to do. I want you to break away from these guys, and you see those stairs over there that are part of that building? I want you to go walk over there and sit down. I want to show you something. So as I go sit down and I'm observing, they're doing the same thing with other folks that they did with me. At first they're being cordial. And for those people who serve as ultimate tools or, delusional, I'm sure that there were a number of folks that were part of the Christian Zionist cult that, they were receptive. But for those people that were receptive, they give them like some type of long stem plant that I guess only grows in Israel. For those people who put up any type of resistance, and I'm talking about there were families, like some with very young children that didn't look like they were more than about 3 or 4 years old. They would get up in their face and start screaming, anti-Semite, anti-Semite at them. And they did the same thing. There was a guy that was like maybe 60 years old. Same shit. Anti-Semite, anti-Semite. At that point, my blood is boiling. It was everything I could do to not get up off those stairs and go run at those guys, man. I wanted to go off on them like an atomic bomb. But that voice, inner knowing, told me, just keep watching. So I noticed there was this woman, maybe early to mid-30s, that's walking on the sidewalk. They're blocking the sidewalk. She's walking in their direction, and she just keeps walking towards them. So as this woman is walking towards these guys, you can see it. The first thing they try and do is be cordial with her, but she ignores them. She just keeps walking, and then they launch into the whole anti-Semite bullshit. She stops and says something to these folks that didn't last more than about, say, 5 or 10 seconds, never breaks her composure and keeps walking. But as she does, it's like you can see and feel. I can certainly feel the energy of these Zionists was just instantly sucked away out of these people, and their whole demeanor changed. Before then, folks like me that, they would get up in their face and start screaming back, you could tell that their energy level was just skyrocketed through the roof. That was even much more than the folks that were reciprocating, that they gave these long stem plants to. But when it came to this woman, instantly the energy just changed, and she never breaks her composure, and she just keeps walking. Since that day, I've studied a lot in psychology, specifically with narcissists and cults. Psychology will tell you that it's the same interpersonal dynamic. A narcissist is someone who builds a phony construct around themselves, and then that becomes their identity. A cult is the same thing, but just on a collective scale. So since that day, I believe I've come to the point. I don't think this is exactly what she said, but I think it's the basic message of what she said. The world sees who you all are now, and this shit doesn't work anymore. Psychology will say that the only way to deal with narcissists and cults is to call out the phony mask that these people are hiding behind and then permanently shut them off. And that's what this woman did. While at the same time, establish boundaries for yourself. I believe that that woman most likely was carrying pepper spray or something with her, and she was prepared to stand her ground and to uphold her boundaries if need be. In my travels, I've been through numerous college protests, Free Palestine protests, all the way from Virginia Tech University in Blacksburg, Virginia, through Charlottesville University of Virginia, James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I saw a pretty big one at UNC Asheville, Free Palestine protest. I've been to another really big Free Palestine protest at Clemson University. And get this, I've been to some Free Palestine protests at Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, and also I've been through one at Bob Jones University in Greenville. Every single one of these protests are not by any means what our establishment media tries to say. They are very peaceful, they are extremely disciplined, and they're only there to educate. And the only folks that are getting violent are, you know, the folks, the cult members waving the blue and white flag. But that's the point, is that I've come to learn that the answer is through just education and promoting peace, and doing it through a position of kindness and respect for anyone, helping folks, for any person who is open to learning about this. And I think this marks the dramatic difference between the Free Palestine protest, which is absolutely caught fire, and the Black Lives Matter movement, which unfortunately has fallen apart to all hell. When folks started burning down cities, I went to one where it almost turned into a riot. It was a motorcade. It almost turned into a riot. But that's the key right there, through kindness and education. And I need to say this also, because this is very important. Just because you may have a connection with Israel does not at all mean that somehow you're a bad person. But it does mean that you have a responsibility to speak out about this. If you want to be a part of humankind and the connection of the human family, then that's what it requires. Your voice actually makes the most difference. And for those people that are Israeli, that are speaking out about this, these are people who really deserve our respect and our reception, and for those of us to stand up for them. This is what makes a dramatic difference, and this is the right side of history. But anyway, I'm getting right near my car, and man, I can't stand to be in this place, Atlantic City. No offense to anyone who's from this place. I'm sure there's a lot of good folks here, but personally, this place is toxic for me. But anyway, hope those of you watching this have got something from it. My teacher within, I know I've really gotten an infinite amount from it. Thank you for watching.